Whether or not you can use your own codebook during the exam depends on the specific regulations set by the state. It is essential to contact the relevant licensing authority in your state to verify the specific requirements and obtain official guidance on this matter. Codebooks are often allowed in certain types of examinations, particularly in fields like electrical work, plumbing, construction, and other trades that rely heavily on established codes and standards. The purpose of allowing codebooks is to assess the practical application of knowledge rather than rote memorization of specific code provisions. However, the extent to which you can annotate or modify your codebook can be strictly controlled. Some jurisdictions permit highlighting and tabbing but forbid extensive written notes or inserted materials. This is to ensure a level playing field among all examinees and to prevent the introduction of unauthorized information. To determine the specific rules applicable to your situation, firstly, identify the relevant licensing authority in your state. This is typically a state board or agency responsible for overseeing the licensing and regulation of the profession you are seeking to enter. Secondly, visit the licensing authority's website. Most state boards maintain websites that provide detailed information about exam requirements, including permissible materials. Look for sections related to examination policies or candidate information. Thirdly, review the specific rules regarding codebook usage. Pay close attention to any restrictions on annotations, highlighting, tabbing, or the inclusion of external materials. The rules might specify the types of markings that are allowed and those that are prohibited. Fourthly, if the website does not provide clear answers or if you have specific questions about your situation, contact the licensing authority directly. You can typically find contact information on the website, including phone numbers and email addresses. When contacting the authority, be prepared to provide details about the exam you are taking and the specific codebook you intend to use. Fifthly, request official guidance in writing. If possible, obtain written confirmation from the licensing authority regarding the permissibility of using your annotated codebook. This can provide you with assurance and documentation in case any questions arise during the exam. Sixthly, understand the rationale behind the rules. Licensing authorities impose restrictions on codebook usage to ensure fairness, prevent cheating, and maintain the integrity of the examination process. By understanding the reasons behind the rules, you can better appreciate the importance of complying with them. Seventhly, consider attending a pre-exam workshop. Some organizations offer workshops or seminars that provide guidance on exam preparation, including information about permissible materials and exam policies. Attending such a workshop can help you clarify any doubts you may have about codebook usage. Eighthly, comply with all instructions provided by the exam proctors. On the day of the exam, be sure to carefully listen to and follow all instructions provided by the exam proctors. They will typically reiterate the rules regarding codebook usage and answer any last-minute questions. Ninthly, avoid any actions that could be construed as cheating. Do not attempt to use unauthorized materials or engage in any behavior that could be interpreted as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage. Such actions can result in disqualification from the exam and potential disciplinary action. Tenthly, remember that the primary purpose of the exam is to assess your understanding of the code and your ability to apply it to real-world situations. While a codebook can be a valuable tool, it is important to have a solid foundation of knowledge and practical skills. Focusing on studying and understanding the code is more important than relying solely on your annotations. Finally, keep in mind that regulations can change, so it is always a good idea to verify the current rules before each exam. Even if you have used the same codebook in the past, it is possible that the rules have been updated. Therefore, it is essential to stay informed and comply with the latest requirements. Codebooks are indispensable resources in various professions that require adherence to complex regulations and standards. These books contain detailed guidelines, specifications, and requirements that professionals must follow to ensure safety, compliance, and quality in their work. However, the use of codebooks is often subject to specific rules and restrictions, particularly in the context of professional examinations and certifications. This ensures fairness, prevents cheating, and maintains the integrity of the evaluation process. The specific rules regarding codebook usage can vary depending on the profession, the licensing authority, and the jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions permit the use of codebooks with limited annotations, while others may allow only clean, unmarked copies. The types of annotations that are allowed may also vary, with some jurisdictions permitting highlighting, tabbing, and underlining, but prohibiting the inclusion of external notes or materials. One common rationale for restricting codebook usage is to ensure that examinees possess a fundamental understanding of the code and its application. Allowing unrestricted access to annotated codebooks could potentially enable examinees to rely solely on pre-prepared notes rather than demonstrating their own knowledge and skills. Another concern is the potential for cheating. If examinees are allowed to bring in heavily annotated codebooks, it could be difficult to prevent them from including unauthorized information or using the annotations to communicate with others during the exam. To address these concerns, licensing authorities often implement strict rules regarding codebook usage. These rules may include requirements for codebooks to be inspected before the exam, restrictions on the types of annotations that are allowed, and prohibitions on the inclusion of external materials. Examinees who violate these rules may face penalties, such as disqualification from the exam or suspension of their license. The specific types of annotations that are permitted can vary widely. Highlighting and underlining are often allowed, as these types of markings do not typically add new information to the codebook. Tabbing is also commonly permitted, as it allows examinees to quickly locate specific sections of the code. However, the use of handwritten notes or inserted materials is often prohibited, as these types of annotations could potentially contain unauthorized information or provide an unfair advantage. It is important to note that even if certain types of annotations are permitted, there may be restrictions on the quantity or extent of the annotations. For example, some jurisdictions may limit the number of pages that can be highlighted or the number of tabs that can be used. It is also important to be aware of any specific requirements regarding the type of codebook that is allowed. Some jurisdictions may require examinees to use the most current edition of the codebook, while others may allow the use of older editions. Additionally, some jurisdictions may require examinees to use a specific version of the codebook that has been approved by the licensing authority. To ensure compliance with the rules regarding codebook usage, it is advisable to carefully review the exam guidelines and contact the licensing authority if you have any questions or concerns. It is also a good idea to practice using the codebook under simulated exam conditions to become familiar with its layout and content. By understanding the rules and regulations governing codebook usage, you can increase your chances of success on the exam and avoid any potential penalties. It's crucial to understand that codebooks are not intended to be substitutes for knowledge and understanding. While they provide valuable references, the real test lies in applying that knowledge effectively. Think of a codebook as a tool, much like a calculator. A calculator can help you perform complex calculations, but it cannot solve a problem if you don't understand the underlying mathematical principles. Similarly, a codebook can assist you in finding specific code provisions, but it cannot make decisions for you if you don't understand the intent and context of those provisions. Therefore, your primary focus should be on studying the code thoroughly and developing a strong understanding of its principles. Use the codebook as a supplement to your knowledge, not as a replacement for it. Practice applying the code to real-world scenarios and learn to interpret its provisions in different contexts. This will not only help you during the exam but also in your future professional practice. In addition to understanding the code itself, it's also important to be familiar with the organization and structure of the codebook. Learn how to quickly locate specific sections and provisions. Familiarize yourself with the index, the table of contents, and any other navigational aids that the codebook provides. The more familiar you are with the codebook, the more efficiently you will be able to use it during the exam. Furthermore, consider taking practice exams to simulate the actual exam environment. This will help you get accustomed to the time constraints and the types of questions that are asked. It will also give you an opportunity to identify any areas where you need to improve your knowledge or skills. When taking practice exams, be sure to use the same codebook that you plan to use during the actual exam. This will help you become even more familiar with its layout and content. Remember, the goal is not just to memorize the code, but to understand it and be able to apply it effectively. The codebook is a tool that can help you achieve that goal, but it is not a substitute for hard work and dedication. Finally, always stay updated on the latest code changes and revisions. Codes are constantly evolving to reflect new technologies, best practices, and safety concerns. It's important to stay informed about these changes so that you can provide the best possible service to your clients and ensure that your work complies with the latest standards. Staying updated can be achieved through continuing education courses, industry publications, and professional organizations. Many organizations offer training programs and resources that can help you stay abreast of the latest code developments. By making a commitment to lifelong learning, you can ensure that you remain a competent and knowledgeable professional throughout your career.